There are few things as powerful, invisible, and yet as penetrating as words. They slip across rooms, through screens, and into the private chambers of our hearts. A single remark can lift us to soaring heights or sink us into despair. We have all experienced it. The praise that inflated us, the criticism that deflated us, the offhand comment that lingered like a splinter under the skin. We live in an age where words travel faster and farther than ever before. Tweets, posts, texts, headlines, rumors. And it often feels as though we are standing unprotected under a ceaseless storm of voices. But some people seem to move through this storm with grace. They read insults without losing their composure. They hear gossip without shrinking. They remain steady in the face of both applause and attack. They are not stone-hearted. In fact, they often appear kinder and calmer than most. What they have learned is not indifference, but an art. The art of not being hurt by words. This art is not about hardening the heart, but about freeing the mind. It is about reclaiming our inner authority over meaning and reaction. And it is an art that can be learned. Words themselves are vibrations of air or strokes of ink. They have no inherent weight, yet we experience them as heavy because of the meanings we attach to them. A Stoic philosopher would tell us that external events, including other people's speech, are neutral. It is our judgments about them that wound us. Epictetus famously taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Words are, in this sense, like shadows. They seem to grasp us, but they cannot unless we step into them. When we internalize this idea, something shifts. We realize that no matter how vicious a remark may be, it cannot define us unless we agree to be defined by it. We cannot control the tongue of another, but we can choose the frame through which we hear. The first step in the art of not being hurt by words is therefore a change of perception, to see speech as an external phenomenon, separate from our inner worth. To practice this art, we must also understand why words hurt us in the first place. They hurt not because of their sound, but because they strike at our beliefs, our identity, and our unhealed wounds. If someone calls me incompetent, and deep inside I already doubt my competence, their words act as confirmation of my fear. If someone mocks a trait I'm proud of, I feel humiliated because my self-esteem is attached to it. Words pierce us through the openings we leave unguarded. This is why two people can hear the same insult and react completely differently. One shrugs it off, the other is devastated. The difference lies not in the insult, but in the inner landscape. Recognizing this is liberating because it shifts the locus of control. Instead of endlessly trying to silence critics, we can strengthen the place within us that interprets criticism. We can heal, question, and release the beliefs that give hurt its foothold. At the heart of Stoicism lies a simple yet radical division. There are things within our control and things beyond it. Our opinions, choices, desires, and aversions are within our control. The actions and words of others are not. When we confuse the two, we suffer. When we distinguish them, we find freedom. The art of not being hurt by words rests on this foundation. We cannot command what people will say, but we can command our response. Between stimulus and response, as Viktor Frankl observed, there is a space. In that space lies our power and our freedom. We may not control the arrival of words, but we control whether they take root. One of the most practical techniques the Stoics taught was the cultivation of inner distance. When an insult arrives, do not swallow it whole. Pause. Observe it like an object placed before you. Ask, is this true? Is this within my control? Does this touch my character or only my reputation? Marcus Aurelius advised himself, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. This pause, sometimes just a breath, is the doorway to freedom. It is the moment when you reclaim your agency from the automatic surge of emotion. You may still feel the sting, but you are no longer compelled to react from it. Like a martial artist who uses an opponent's force to maintain balance, you redirect the energy of words rather than absorbing it. Another pillar of this art is remembering where your value truly lies. Praise does not make you virtuous. Blame does not make you vicious. Your worth resides in your character, your intentions, and your actions, not in the shifting opinions of others. The more you anchor in this truth, the lighter external judgments feel. You begin to see compliments and insults alike as weather, pleasant or unpleasant, but not defining. Seneca said, "A wise man is content with himself." This is not arrogance, it is self-knowledge. When you know who you are and what you stand for, words lose their power to distort your self-image. You can listen to feedback with openness, but you no longer let it erode your center. Ironically, one of the best ways to protect yourself from hurtful words is to cultivate compassion for those who speak them. Most insults arise from ignorance, pain, or fear. People lash out because they are wounded, insecure, or struggling with their own shadows. Seeing this does not excuse their behavior, but it changes how you receive it. Instead of taking their words as a verdict on your worth, you recognize them as a reflection of their state. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to expect selfish, angry, deceitful people, and then to meet them with understanding. He wrote, "They do wrong because they do not know what is right." This attitude softens our defensiveness. When someone criticizes you harshly, you can silently think, "This is their pain speaking." That thought alone creates a buffer between their words and your heart. Like any art, the art of not being hurt by words requires practice. Here are some exercises drawn from Stoic tradition and modern psychology. The evening journal. Each night, write about any remarks that disturbed you. Identify the thought or belief that made them sting. Ask yourself, was this within my control? What judgment did I add? Over time, patterns emerge and your sensitivity decreases. The pause practice. Whenever you feel triggered by a comment, take 3 conscious breaths before responding. Inhale self-control, exhale reactivity. This small ritual interrupts automatic reactions and gives you a choice. The perspective shift. Visualize yourself from a distance, perhaps from above, or as if you were watching a scene in a film. Notice how small the words look against the vastness of your life. This mental distancing reduces emotional charge. Compassionate reframe. Silently say to yourself, this person is speaking from their own experience. It does not define me. This thought keeps you rooted in empathy and detachment. Affirming core values. Begin your day by reading or reciting a short affirmation of your values. Honesty, kindness, courage, integrity. Grounded in these, you are less swayed by others' judgments. As you practice, you may notice subtle but profound changes. You no longer replay hurtful comments in your mind for days. You begin to listen to criticism without defensiveness, extracting any useful insight and discarding the malice. Praise also loses its intoxicating grip. You appreciate it, but do not depend on it. Your mood becomes less like a leaf tossed by the wind and more like a tree rooted deep in the earth. This steadiness does not make you cold. It makes you available. Because you are not busy nursing wounds from words, you have more energy to act with clarity and kindness. You become the person others turn to in crises because your calm is contagious. Your presence itself becomes a lesson. It shows that freedom is possible even in a world full of noise. It is important to stress that this art is not about numbing yourself. It is not the suppression of feeling, but the transformation of meaning. You will still feel emotions. You are human, but you will no longer be enslaved by them. You will feel the first wave of sting and then watch it dissolve instead of amplify it with thoughts. This is the difference between a person who has built walls and a person who has built inner space. One closes off, the other opens up. Freedom from being hurt by words is therefore not the absence of sensitivity, but the presence of self-mastery. It allows you to respond with deliberate kindness, firm boundaries, or silent detachment, whichever is most appropriate, without losing your center. Consider the story of a teacher constantly criticized by a colleague. At first, she would go home fuming, replaying the words over and over. Then she began practicing the Stoic pause. When the colleague spoke sharply, she breathed, reminded herself of her values, and asked, "Is this within my control?" The criticism lost its sting. Sometimes she even thanked the colleague for the feedback that was useful. Over time, the colleague's barbs lost their target. The dynamic changed. Or think of an athlete booed by thousands of fans. If he tied his identity to their cheers, he would be shattered on bad days and arrogant on good days. But if he rooted himself in his training, his discipline, his love of the game, the crowd's noise became background. He could perform with joy regardless of opinion. These stories show that the art is not abstract. It is a living skill that transforms daily life. To truly integrate this art, you must weave it into the fabric of your days. Begin each morning by anticipating the likelihood of criticism, misunderstanding, or gossip. This is not pessimism, but preparation. Marcus Aurelius began his meditations with a list of difficult people he would meet each day, reminding himself not to be surprised or angered. Throughout the day, treat every encounter as an opportunity to practice. Each comment, whether kind or cruel, is a chance to anchor deeper in your values. In the evening, reflect on your successes and setbacks without judgment. Gradually, the distance between stimulus and response grows wider and your peace more stable. Ultimately, the art of not being hurt by words is about living a life of integrity. When you act according to your principles, criticism becomes feedback rather than a threat, and praise becomes encouragement rather than a drug. You no longer need constant validation, nor do you fear disapproval. You are free to speak your truth with humility and to listen to others with openness. This freedom allows you to contribute more fully to the world. Instead of reacting to insults, you can address injustices. Instead of defending your ego, you can focus on your mission. You become a servant of values rather than a slave of opinions. Imagine standing on a shore. Waves crash, winds howl, gulls scream. These are the words of the world: praise, blame, gossip, rumor. You cannot stop the sea, but you can build a lighthouse within. Its foundation is your character. Its light is your awareness. From this place, you watch the waves come and go. Some splash against the rocks, some break harmlessly in the distance. Inside, the flame burns steady. This is the art of not being hurt by words. It is the art of freedom, of dignity, of compassion. It is not mastered in a day, but practiced over a lifetime. Each moment of awareness is a brushstroke on the canvas of your character. And with time, you will discover that the very words that once wounded you become teachers, showing you where you still cling, where you still fear, where you can still grow. You cannot silence the world, but you can quiet the storm inside. You cannot control what others will say, but you can choose what you will hear. You cannot prevent every arrow, but you can learn not to offer your heart as the target. This is not withdrawal from life, but deeper participation. Because when words lose their power to hurt you, you become free to listen, to learn, to love, and to live with courage. May you practice this art daily. May you become a steady presence in a noisy world. And may your life, grounded in inner freedom, speak more eloquently than any words ever could.